Welcome to the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the America 250 PA podcast. I'm your host, Sydney Harris. And today's episode marks a special milestone, our 40th episode. I am so proud to be a part of this journey as we continue to shine a light on the incredible people, places, and stories that make Pennsylvania such a remarkable place to call home. One of the best parts about this podcast is the people we get to meet and the ideas that come straight from you, our listeners. We love it when you reach out to share your stories or suggest guests. And today's episode is one of those special submissions. To mark our 40th episode, we are heading to Perry County to learn more about the Perry County Council of the Arts and their extraordinary gift, the Landis House. This historic home holds not just a fascinating story of a family with international roots, but also an incredible collection of art, history, and community connection. Today, I am so thrilled to be joined by Rebecca Myers, Project Director at the Perry County Council of the Arts, who's here to tell us more about the organization, the story of the Landis family, and how the Landis House became a cultural cornerstone in Newport, Pennsylvania. So, let's open the doors to the Landis House and step into this remarkable story. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
To start, we love hearing about the people we're actually talking to. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as Project Director for the Perry County Council of the Arts?
Sure. I like to introduce myself that I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. Don't ask me about my grandchildren, or we will be talking for a long time. I'm an ordained Episcopal priest. I have a social work degree, and I've worked in nonprofits a lot of my career. As project director here at Perry County Council of the Arts, I oversee the Arts and Education program. We get money through the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts to place artists, which are vetted to be sure they're good teaching artists, and we place them in schools or community centers in 7 counties in Pennsylvania: Juniata, Mifflin, Montour, Northumberland, Perry, Snyder, and Union. These locations have to have a match for the state money, and I just oversee all of those, linking the site with the particular artist. And then also there's sometimes special projects here and grants that again work with artists and community organizations on projects they'd like to see in their communities.
And let's talk about the Perry County Council of the Arts. For our listeners who may not be familiar, what is the overall mission and what kind of work do you and the Perry County Council of the Arts do in the community?
Yeah, we've been around for almost 50 years, and our mission is to build community through the arts, to reimagine creativity, especially in a rural area. And we try to connect our community through the arts. And right now we have 4 programs that do that. The Arts and Education program that I mentioned. We have art classes. We have summer camps. We have artist engagement through our gallery where we sell member artists' work. And then we have the Landis House Museum.
And let's dive into that very last thing you mentioned, the Landis House Museum. Can you tell us the story of the Landis family? Who were they and their connection to Germany and how they came to settle in Newport, Pennsylvania?
I won't go way back, but Claire Landis, who lived in this house, was born in Newville. And he was a clock and watch repairman. And he would travel around all through the area, and he would travel to Millerstown to a hardware store. And he would set up shop with a little sign, come, I'll repair your watch or your clock. And while he was there, he met a local resident, Bertha Ripman. Her family owned a tannery. Now, in 1898, Claire volunteered for the Spanish-American War, but when he arrived in Cuba to fight the war had ended. But he stayed. He opened a souvenir shop there, and he came back to Millerstown to marry Bertha. But when he got back to Cuba, the souvenir store and little business he had set up was gone. His partner was gone. Everything was gone. But on the way over, he had met a representative of the Swift and Company, a meat packing company, and got a job with them and eventually managed all of their operations in Cuba. But he moved around. They'd be in Cuba, then they'd be in the United States. One thing that I hadn't realized, which makes sense, is they would often come back to this area where Bertha was from and had lots of family, especially in the summers, because they were very hot. And there were also different diseases like yellow fever, malaria. So it was much better to come north for the summers. But eventually, after World War I, in 1919, Mr. Landis was sent to Europe to manage the Swift meat packing operations in part of Germany and Europe. And the family settled eventually in Hamburg. They purchased a nearly fully furnished mansion that had 5 living rooms and 25 staff members. In the early 1930s, things began to get pretty dangerous. The Nazis were coming to power. There'd be frequent marches down the streets of the town. If you didn't do the Nazi salute, you could get beat up. And Mr. Landis began to be very, very concerned. So he told the company that he needed to leave Germany and return to the United States. They said they didn't have a job for him back here, so he said he would retire, and that's what he did. He also apparently told a number of people, business people from the United States, or people who were Jewish. He told them in those early 1930s that they really needed to leave the country. So they came back here, decided to settle in Newport. In 1938, the youngest child, Mary, had graduated from college, from Smith College, and she and her mother, Bertha, decided to go back to Germany for a visit. They had put everything in storage there. So they decided to go back, and while they were there in 1938, they made the snap decision that they would bring all of the belongings out of storage and bring them back to the United States. They could just see that war was looming and knew they needed to get those things out. So everything was shipped to Baltimore, and then it took 4 railroad cars to get them to Newport. They bought this home, which had been apartments, converted it back to single-family home, began to take all their furnishings and move in. Mary, Landis, Bertha, and Claire lived here until their deaths, and Mary lived here for many years, taking care of her parents, and then until her death. In 2007, the Perry County Council of the Arts took possession. It was Mary's wish that the Council of the Arts have the house and the contents of the house.
It's really incredible to hear that the family transported 4 boxcars of furniture and artwork from Germany in 1938, especially as we know now, a lot of that artwork and a lot of those valuables were seized by the Nazis. So they saved this work and they brought it back. Do you know what kind of pieces came with them?
It's all kinds of things. I mean, we have whole sets of china, which we still use, dishes, lots of porcelain, like the Meissen porcelain that you would see, very fine porcelain. There's some huge bronze figures. There's one of Odin that's quite spectacular. There were mirrors that in this house go from floor to ceiling, but I was told that in Germany, those mirrors went over a piece of furniture. So the ceilings must have been astoundingly high. They just take up a whole wall, these mirrors do. There's, wood carvings. There's a bust of Wagner, because the family was connected to some of Wagner's widow and his children. They would look after them and became friendly with them. So there's a bust of Wagner. There's paintings. There's an original Courbet painting and other pieces of artwork that show, the scenery of Germany. There were two pianos. Bechstein was the name of the manufacturer. They're considered kind of like the Cadillac of pianos. One of the pianos is with a family member in Oklahoma, and the other one is here at Landis House and is used when we have concerts.
And you said that the Perry County Council of the Arts inherited this house. What was that transition like from a private home to a public arts and cultural space?
There were two phases to that, as you can imagine. One was when they took the garage, and I think this was in about 2008 or 9, soon after possession, they took the garage and turned it into an art space and also connected it with a lobby to the rest of the house. So that was one of the renovations. And initially we use it as an art space now, but it was initially offices for the Perry County Council of the Arts. Then there was another renovation, but that was done about 2013, heating and air conditioning and systems put in and that kind of thing, as well as converting some of the other rooms into office space. One of the bedrooms has these rolling stack cases to hold the artwork and have art collections. And then one of the large bedrooms has furniture in it that came from the family. And we use that if we have an artist who needs a place to stay while doing work in the region, they can stay here.
Can you go into a little more detail about what visitors can expect when they walk into the Landis House today? You said there's original furnishings, artwork. Are there personal items from the family still on display?
About a year ago, we did an exhibit called Time, and we invited artists and writers to submit their work based on that subject of time. And the family had all these different clocks, and so we pulled those out. We did put those on display along with the works of art. Yeah, when you come, you'll see there's some panels that explain about the family and the history of the family and how they came here. And then in what's called the ballroom, there's bronze statues in there. And then there's usually different exhibits. Sometimes it's artwork from that the family had. Sometimes every year we have a juried art exhibit in the fall, and we're accepting artwork for that actually right now. So there'll be different exhibits in there. And then there's the music room, and you can see the lovely piano. The Courbet is in there. The bust of Wagner's in there. And then there's a library room, which has some resources in it. And there are some books in there that the family owned. But there's also what I would say is my favorite piece, which is a bronze of Atlas holding up a huge globe of the world. And of course, this is from 1930s Germany. So many of the places and name places are in German. And it was a gift from the Hamburg America shipping lines to Mr. Landis for all of his work. That, the business he had in getting products shipped to the United States. So they gave him that as a gift.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your programs, exhibits, and community events. You've mentioned that you had a program called Time at the Landis House. What else do you do during the year to really engage the community and get them involved?
Yes, we have regular art classes, depending on, artist availability. We have quite a few right now glass mosaic classes that are just one at a time. We had a series of pottery classes a couple of months ago. Right now, in fact, as we speak, downstairs, there's what's called an inclusive art class. These are people who are adults and they may have intellectual disabilities or mental health issues, and they can come and enjoy free art class. This was about 8 weeks in length. We have art classes for students who are homeschooled. We have art classes for students after school. We're right now getting ready to transport over 600 pieces of artwork done by young people from kindergarten to 12th grade for our annual Youth Art Day in Perry County. So all of these pieces, including poetry and literature and essays, are by students here in the county, and they're from the public schools and private or cyber schools. And this year we'll be at Newport High School. So we put all of that on display, pick some winners. It's all juried. So it's not held here at Landis House, but we did collect everything here. Yeah, sometimes we'll have concerts and people can rent the space out for events that they might have.
That is really wonderful to hear how much you're engaging with the community. And I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into that. How does having a space like this, the Landis House, help connect people in Perry County with local history, creative expression, and, as we said, community pride?
Well, I think the story is just really fascinating. Just how a family from this area ended up having such an amazing adventure. And they were rooted here, yet they traveled and experienced a lot of the world. And many of the family members still live here. And others, even if they move away, they return frequently to visit. So the history feels very personal and very alive. You can find people who remember coming here to visit their grandparents or their aunt and enjoying the stay here. But I just think they've just had a fascinating experience in life. And I think it's helpful for people here to know, that that's available, that people did that and still maintained their roots. Also, because this area is very heavily German, it's very interesting to have these pieces of art and furniture from a time in Germany. Links us back to that kind of heritage also.
Are there any moments, conversations, events, or personal stories that have really underscored how special this place is to the people who visit and engage with it?
Yeah, I think people are sometimes in awe that these things are here. Lots of times you might have to go to a big city to see some of these exhibits. And the other thing is just the amazing creativity that's really everywhere. And the fact that you can come here and see it on display. The gallery is also part of that. That gallery is just, while we sell the artwork, it's also a wonderful place to visit and just see what's possible. So that's really great. And sometimes, you walk by something, you don't think much about it. So, okay, there's a piano. That's wonderful. Well, I was told that at one point, the conductor of the Harrisburg Symphony, Stuart Molina, actually came up here to play this piano. It's that wonderful of an instrument that he wanted to play it personally. So that's very cool. And it's just fun to see, especially the people who come to all the classes and really enjoy them and appreciate the ability to have somewhere and to learn new things and get together with other folks.
And as we approach the 250th anniversary of the United States in 2026, how do you see places like the Landis House and the work of the Perry County Council of the Arts playing a role in preserving and sharing Pennsylvania's story?
This is a country of people who've immigrated and traveled. And so the Landis story does reflect the German heritage of the region and also reflects an evolution of business and craftsmanship. So Bertha's family was involved in tanneries and had like leather that won awards. And now there are no tanneries in Newport. So it preserves that history. So we offer insight into the past, and then we just foster a vibrant arts culture for the future. I heard there's a podcast called It's Not History. And I really think that's important to remember. We think, oh, that happened a long time ago. But the reality is what happened a long time ago certainly informs what is happening today. So we help with making those links from the past to the present and then into the future.
Oh, I love how you phrase that. It's not history. It impacts how we are and what we do today. That was really, really wonderful to listen to you speak. So I'm thinking that many of our listeners might want to check out the Landis House, might want to get involved with the Perry County Council of the Arts. How can they do this, whether it's visiting, donating, volunteering, or just simply supporting your mission?
Yes, we would love all of those things. The house is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. We're at 4th and Walnut Streets in Newport. We're also open at other times by appointment. If someone would call and we'd happen to be here, that would be fine. Our gallery is open Wednesday through Saturday from 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, and that's down in the square in Newport. We have donations through our website. We do have volunteers who serve on our board and help with our various activities. We'd love to have a volunteer coordinator. And one of my thoughts would be to have someone who would be interested in arranging for maybe tours to stop by and for more people to visit the house. Yeah, we have just lots of opportunities and would love people to participate. It's pretty easy to find us online. We're at perrycountyarts.org. That's perrycountyarts.org. And there you can find a way to, email and let us know your interest or if you'd like to visit. We would just love to see you and take advantage of this wonderful jewel that it looks just like a brick house like any on the street, and you just can't believe what's inside.
Well, that is all I have for you today. Thank you again and appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Take care.
What an incredible journey through time, art, and community. A huge thank you to Rebecca Myers for sharing the story of the Landis House and the impactful work of the Perry County Council of the Arts. As we continue to celebrate places like this across the Commonwealth, we're reminded that history doesn't just live in textbooks. It lives in the homes, galleries, and hearts of Pennsylvanians who preserve it, share it, and pass it on. If you've enjoyed today's episode, we encourage you to listen to the Landis House, support your local arts council, or explore the stories waiting to be discovered in your own backyard. And if there's a special part of Pennsylvania you hold dear, we'd love to hear about it. Head over to our website and fill out our podcast idea submission form. We might just feature your story next. Thank you again for listening, and as always, stay PA proud.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra Coleman, Executive Director of America 250 PA. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you to learn more about America 250 PA and send us your podcast ideas at america250pa.org.
This has been the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at america250pa.org.